What is up, my friends and family? I'm Charmick. Today I'm going to be reacting to 5 scariest and most dangerous prison inmates you definitely don't want to share a cell with by top 5s. Now, I love top 5s, and I've been waiting for another one of their creepy videos. I don't think this is going to be creepy, so I mean, I guess that's good, because I'm not going to get creeped out. But I like their creepy videos because they end up freaking me out. But at the same time, I don't like them because they end up freaking me out. So yeah, I'm still waiting for another one of those. But this just came out recently, and a lot of people seem to like it. So hopefully it's going to be quite entertaining. And I'm pretty sure that it is going to be interesting just because if you're sharing a cell with someone, they obviously broke the law to get to where they are, right? So that would mean that the odds of them being like almost crazy is very high. So this should be quite interesting, but yeah, with that being said, the original link's in the description. Make sure you go subscribe to Top 5s, that link's also in the description, as well as they have a magazine if you're interested. And without any further ado, let's begin!
Prison is a scary place. And although it's designed to rehabilitate criminals and lead them to live a better life, this isn't always
It doesn't really do that.
the case. Some people actually get worse when locked behind bars, and take any opportunity they can to attack an officer, cause a riot, or kill a fellow inmate. Now, I'm sure you have zero intention of ever ending up in prison, but if you did wind up locked away, these 5 criminals are the last people you would want to share a cell with. As always, sit back and enjoy. Charles Bronson. Michael Gordon Peterson was born on the 6th of December 1952 in Luton, England, and grew up to become Britain's most violent prisoner, who most will know by the name of Charles Bronson. Remarkably, despite spending most of his adult life in prison, Charles has never actually killed anyone, and the majority of his crimes have been committed while in prison. Bronson's first stretch of violence was in 1974, when aged just 22, he was sentenced to 7 years in Walton Jail Prison, where he began his reign of terror.
What did he do to get him in there? What did he do? Are you not going to say it?
He was soon in the punishment block for an unprovoked attack on 2 prisoners.
So they didn't even say it! What got him in prison for 7 years to begin with? Because 7 years that's not a short amount of time.
Which continued throughout his sentence, causing him to be moved between different prisons several times. It wasn't long before he gained a reputation as being a very challenging prisoner.
Look at that
who
beard.
Spent many months in solitary confinement.
He could be a Viking.
After a move to Wandsworth Prison, he attempted to poison a fellow inmate and dig his way out, and was transferred to Parkhurst High Security Prison on the Isle of Wight, where he befriended the notorious Cray twins. After a failed suicide attempt in 1978, he was moved to Broadmoor and then to Rampton Secure Hospital. However, Bronson could not accept the regime and company of highly dangerous and disturbed inmates, and after trying to strangle child sex murderer John White, he was transferred back to Broadmoor.
So he didn't like being surrounded by a bunch of really evil people, and he tried murdering a child rapist? What was that? Was that it? I guess he's not the worst person ever.
In 1987, he was briefly released, and this is when he changed his name to Charles Bronson. He soon reoffended, but the trouble was, most prisons refused to house him due to his reputation. He was basically too violent for prison. He soon ended up back in Parkhurst, where he was attacked and had to spend time in hospital. Bronson was released for a second time in 1992, although his freedom was short-lived, and while on remand in Wood Hill Prison, he took a librarian hostage, demanding a helicopter, an inflatable doll, and a cup of tea.
Inflatable doll? What was he planning on doing with that? Was he gonna get in the helicopter, fly off into the woods, and live with the doll for the rest of his life? Is he gonna marry it or something? What was the plan there? I really want to know. Also, what were the offenses that got him into prison and then got him into prison again? I think you should have added that.
Bronson got given an additional 8 years and was put into isolation. This didn't help, as he soon took a deputy governor hostage and had to be placed in the Hannibal cage at Wakefield Prison.
Wow.
The cell designed for Robert Maudsley, who we will talk about later in this video. His next move was to Hull Prison, but again he attacked a prison governor. After a few more prison moves, he ended up in Belmarsh in 1996, where he took 2 Iraq hijackers and a fellow inmate hostage. This incident added another 5 years to his sentence. Over the next few years, Bronson took another 2 people hostage, as well as destroyed prison furniture.
What's with him and taking people hostage? Like, I think he might be obsessed with it or something.
And eventually received a discretionary life sentence. In 2009, Bronson had parole refused, and an appeal to the then Prime Minister David Cameron for his release was turned down.
That guy was very interesting, to say the least. I really want to know what got him into prison in the first place, because he got 7 years, which isn't, a short amount of time. So obviously it was something quite serious, you'd think, right? And then what got him into it again? Because he was released and got back in, then he was released again, and then he got back in. Well, what caused him to get back in? Was it like petty theft or something? I don't know. And also, his beard was insane.
Thomas Silverstein. In 1971, at the age of just 19, Thomas Edward Silverstein was convicted of armed robbery and sent to San Quentin Prison in California. After serving 4 years, he was released, but shortly after was rearrested and charged with another armed robbery, for which he was sentenced to 15 years. Whilst in prison, Silverstein developed close ties to the white supremacist prison gang, the Aryan Brotherhood. And when fellow inmate Danny Atwell refused Silverstein's request to serve as a drug mule, he brutally murdered him and was sentenced to life without parole, to be served at USP. However, this conviction was later overturned due to the unreliable evidence by jailhouse informants, although it wasn't long before Silverstein killed again, this time DC Black's prison gang member, Robert Chappelle. In 1981, the leader of the DC Blacks, Raymond Cadillac Smith, was transferred to the same prison as Thomas. This was a recipe for disaster, and after repeated attempts by Smith to kill Silverstein, the tables were turned, and Silverstein and fellow inmate Clayton Fountain brutally murdered Smith, stabbing him 67 times with improvised weapons.
Okay, so I'm actually lost at the moment. Who killed whom?
Before dragging his body up and down the walkway in front of the other prisoners' cells. After this murder, Silverstein received another life sentence.
Oh, okay, so Silverstein killed the other guy. I was thinking it was the other way around. Like, I got really lost there for a minute.
And was kept in virtual solitary confinement. However, in 1983, when being let out of his cell for a shower, he was handed a homemade knife by another inmate, and stabbed correction officer Merle Klutz. Just a few hours after this killing, the inmate who had helped Silverstein kill Klutz used a similar method to kill another officer, Robert Hoffman.
They didn't find the knife?
Silverstein was implicated in both murders and sent to USP Atlanta, where he was placed in solitary confinement with a no human contact status. After the Atlanta prison riots in 1987, Silverstein was moved back to Leavenworth, where he spent the next 18 years, before being transferred to the Supermax facility ADX Florence in Colorado, where he remains to this day. His earliest date of release is 2095.
2095? What's he gonna be, like 200 years old or something at that point?
And he is currently the longest held prisoner in solitary confinement within the Bureau of Prisons.
That one was crazy.
Rebecca Butterfield. Rebecca Butterfield is not only a danger to herself, but it's believed her self-mutilation is to draw people towards her so she can inflict violence on them. Butterfield's life of crime started when she was just 21 years old, when she was convicted of malicious damage, drug offences, and unlawful entry.
Look at that face. I'm not trying to be mean here, but look at that eye. Her, like, if you look at her, that left eye looks like it's, I don't know, it looks like it's plotting something.
Which progressed on to more serious offences. In 2000, she stabbed her neighbour who was trying to stop her self-harming. Butterfield was convicted of grievous bodily harm and sentenced to 3 years. However, while serving her sentence, she killed fellow inmate Blue Slim Ward in 2003 and was convicted of manslaughter, adding 12 years to her sentence.
Wow.
During her time in prison, she committed a catalogue of violent acts, mostly against herself. These included cutting her own throat on 4 occasions, trying to...
What? How did she live? On 4 different occasions. If you live once, I mean, hey, you got lucky. You live twice, oh, you're the luckiest person ever. But 4 times? What?
To hang herself, setting fire to her cell and severely burning herself, as well as inserting items under her scalp and head, then butting the wall until she caused skull damage. In addition to this, Butterfield stabbed an officer in the face and threw boiling water and urine at other officers.
How did you get boiling water to begin with? Why would anyone let you near any type of weapon?
In 2015, Butterfield had served a sentence, but in an unprecedented move, she was deemed too violent and dangerous to be released, and the Supreme Court ruled that she must spend another 5 years behind bars. In summing up the reasons for this decision,
or put her into a mental institution. I mean, by the way she's acting, you think something's wrong up there.
Justice Stephen Rothman claimed an unsupervised Butterfield was a risk, and would more than likely commit a serious violent offence. He also noted that her suicide attempts were a deliberate and premeditated attempt to lure officers into her cell so she could attack them. It goes without saying, she does not share a cell with any other inmate. Butterfield, who is thought to be suffering from a combination of mental disorders, is currently held in Silverwater Women's Correctional Centre in Western Sydney, Australia, and she is considered New South Wales's most violent inmate.
Why is she in a correctional institution when she should be in a mental institution? And she should be, like, drugged up or something, because something's not right up in her head, right? And, you know, keeping her in a prison where she is able to attack other people willy-nilly and whatnot, I mean, I don't think that's a good idea. She should be in a mental institution.
John Mongrel. Now, John Mongrel was South Africa's most dangerous prisoner. He was sent to Pollsmoor Prison in Cape Town at the age of 14, with an initial sentence of 9 years.
For doing what? What? 9 years? That's a long time. What did he do to get in there?
But almost as soon as he arrived at the jail, he wanted to be a part of the gang culture, and to prove his worth, he killed his cellmate by stabbing him through the heart. At the time, he had not yet reached his 15th birthday.
He was 14 years old and did that? Oh my goodness, that is nuts.
Mongrel rose through the ranks to become the brutal leader of the 28th gang. As the head of the pack, Mongrel would order anyone who wanted to join to kill a prisoner or warden to prove they were worthy. He would either participate in the killings or sit there and watch. It's thought that over a 30-year period, he was responsible directly and indirectly for over 1,000 deaths inside Pollsmoor Prison.
1,000 deaths inside the prison. It's not like he was walking around the streets killing people. Inside the prison, he was doing this. How did no one put an end to this? Like, 1,000 deaths. Oh, that's not suspicious at all. You should lock him up away from everyone else so he has no human contact. I mean, it sounds brutal, but apparently all he needs is a little bit of human contact and he can get people, you know, dead.
In 2006, Mongrel gave an interview for Ross Kemp's TV series Gangs. In the interview, he described the killings and told that he raped a different inmate every few weeks.
He what? He what?
He raped a different inmate every few weeks, and anyone who did not obey him would be killed. Ross Kemp described him as the scariest man he had ever met. Now, I cannot find out for certain, but it would seem Mongrel was killed shortly after the Ross Kemp interview. And
oh, he's dead now! I would say that's probably a good thing.
It was rumoured his participation in the TV show was the reason. So that's 5 incredibly violent.
That was nuts. That was friggin' nuts. All these people belong, like, locked up and on, like, a crap load of, medication. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked this video. This was something else. But if you did like it, make sure you give it a thumbs up, possibly share with a friend. If you're new, hit subscribe and join the family today. And also, make sure you go subscribe to Top 5s as well as go get their magazine. That link's in the description. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Boop!